Hi guys, and welcome back to our abundant life, where we talk all things money, saving and trying to be frugal. Alright, so one of the best ways to be frugal is to cook from home. So we thought we would start sharing some of our favourite homemade recipes, and today we are going to share with you our potato roll recipe. This is one of our family's favourites. We usually have it at least once a week, and it's great for the freezer as well. You can freeze them and then bring them out. Alright, so what we need is flour, obviously, eggs, mashed potatoes. These are leftover mashed potatoes, so a great way to use up the leftovers. There's not enough in there, for another meal, but perfect amount for potato rolls. We also have salt, butter, honey and yeast. Alright, to get started, you're going to take your bowl and you need to put in 1 cup of water, just like warm water. If you're making mashed potatoes from scratch, you can just use the potato water that you boiled the potatoes in, because that is really good too. Alright, so once you have your cup of water, put your water in, and then you need 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. If you just have those packets, it's just 1 packet. So 1, 2 1/4, and then you also need your honey, and that's 2 tablespoons of honey. I just guess it doesn't really need to be specific. And then mix it together just gently, because you don't want all the yeast to like clump together. Alright, so once you got your honey and your yeast in there, just give it a mix together, and then you're going to just let it set for 5 minutes, and then it'll get all nice and frothy, and we'll come back to it then. Alright, so 5 minutes later, and it is nice and frothy. And now we're going to add the rest of our ingredients, starting with our mashed potatoes, which is 1 1/4 cup of mashed potatoes. If you're making like mashed potatoes just for this, it's about, to make 1 1/4 cups of mashed potatoes, you need about 2 cups of like raw potatoes diced up and boiled. That's just how it equals out. And these potatoes have like a heck of a lot of extra butter in them. And what else did I put in there? Cream cheese. Alright, so that's 1 cup. I'm probably just going to put all of it in, even though it's probably just a little bit extra. That's 1 cup. Yeah, it's probably almost exactly 1 1/4 cup of mashed potatoes. Is that good, baby? Yeah. Alright, then we need 1 egg. Mashed potatoes. That's good. Oh. And then we're going to get on to putting in our flour. We're going to start with 2 cups of flour just to start with, and then we'll add extra flour as we go along, because we don't want to like turn the mixer on and it just explodes everywhere. So 2 cups of flour, and 2 teaspoons of salt. If you're just using your own mashed potatoes, usually you would have seasoned them with salt already. But so I'm just going to put 1 teaspoon of salt in. If you haven't seasoned your potatoes, then you need to use 2 teaspoons of salt. But we don't want it to be too salty. Alright, and then we're just going to put it into our mixer. I always wanted a KitchenAid mixer, but they're like $600. This one is a cheap, no name, no brand mixer, and it's lasted for 7 years now. Yeah, I got it when Lily was a baby. And it's still going strong. It's one of my best friends. Alright, we're just going to turn it on slowly so you don't explode flour everywhere, and wait for it to all come together. Alright, so once it comes together in this like goopy mess, then you can add in extra flour. You're going to need about... Shh, Carter. You're going to need about 4 to 5 cups, depending on where you live. Like, sometimes you need more, sometimes you need less. We'll just start and see how we go. So add 2 more cups in and then mix it together. Alright, while it's mixing, you're going to start adding in your little cubes of butter. This is half a cup of butter, and we're just going to add in cubes as it goes around and turn it back on, and it will mix in slowly. Okay, so we've added in 4 cups of flour already, and it's still sticking to the sides. You know when bread has enough flour in it because when you mix it, it will all come away from the sides and form like a ball around the hook. So it's still sticking to the sides, so I'm going to add an extra cup of flour and see how that goes. 5 cups of flour is going to be enough. Okay, so it has started to form a ball around the middle, and when you turn it on, it comes clean off the sides, and you start hearing like a thumping sound when it hits the sides, and that's when you know that it has got enough flour in. So we're just going to let it go for 5 minutes to knead itself, and then we'll come back to it and we're going to put it, leave it to rise. Alright, our bread has been going for 5 minutes now, and you can tell it's nice, it's not sticky to touch, and it's nice and shiny and smooth. So we're going to take it off this dough hook thing and get rid of our, what do you call this thing? Mixer thing. Alright, we're going to take it out of the bowl and put it onto the bench. We ended up putting in about 6 cups of flour today, but that's probably because it's super muggy here, and just there's so much moisture in the air, it feels like we're swimming inside. Alright, we're just going to give it a quick knead on the bench to make it into a nice smooth ball. Just like put all the sides in so that it's nice and smooth on top. Like that. Beautiful. And then we're going to put in just like a little bit of oil, maybe like a teaspoon, into your bowl, and then put it nice smooth side down, swish it around, and then flip it back up the other side so it's got the nice oil on top, and it'll have oil around the sides, and then it will rise nice and smoothly. Cover it with a tea towel or with some cling wrap or something, and just leave it for about an hour, and we'll come back to it. It's probably going to rise really fast because it's got all the right conditions. It's hot, it's muggy, yeah, it's perfect for rising bread today. So we'll leave that and we'll come back in an hour and see what it's done. Alright, we are back 1 hour later, so let's look at this bread. Da, da, da. It's beautiful and it's nice and squishy. And now what you want to do is just punch it down and get all that air out again that you've just got it in. Alright, then tip it out onto your board. It will just, because you oiled the thing, it will be just slipping out easily. Alright, this recipe makes 24 rolls. So what you do is you just grab like a little bit like this, pull it off and pinch it between your thumb and your pointing finger, is that what you call it? And divide it into 24. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're about the size of golf balls if you want to get specific. And I always like to break them all into 24 before I start rolling them. It just makes it a lot easier, because sometimes you get to the end and you don't have enough dough to, yeah. Alright, now we have our beautiful 24 portions, and we're just going to roll them. This is how you do it, because you want a nice smooth top. You just pull from the outside into the middle all the way around, and then you can turn it over and it's beautiful and nice and round. So try it again. So just pull from the outside just a little bit. My mum taught me how to do this. It makes it nice and smooth on top. So if sometimes you just got to pinch the bottom. Okay, so we're going to do this for all of them, and then we're going to pop them into our trays. Alright, so we're putting them into our trays. These are, I don't know what measurement trays they are, they just came from the supermarket. But you can fit in 12 into each tray. I just oiled it a little bit on the bottom because we don't want things sticking. Alright, so that's one tray. Just put some oil in so you don't have to touch it, and you just move the oil around with your piece of bread, your piece of dough. Alright. And what we're going to do, because we only eat one tray per meal, so one tray is going to go into the freezer and one tray is going to get cooked. If you want to put them in the freezer, it's really great, because then You get them out in the morning, like before you go to work or before you go to school and stuff, and just put them into the fridge, and then when you get home and you're ready for dinner, you can just pull them out and let them rise on the counter for maybe like 20 minutes and put them into the oven, and you'll have freshly baked bread for dinner. We already have 3 trays in the freezer, so this is just going to add to it, because sometimes we really like fresh bread, but I don't want to be making it because it's a bit of an ordeal. I mean, this has taken 2 hours already. Alright, so for the one that's not going into the freezer, cover it again and leave it for 20 to 30 minutes, and then it'll be ready to go into the oven. This one here that's going to the freezer, I'm just going to cover with foil and chuck it into the freezer along with the other ones. Our bread has finished cooking, and I have actually got 2 things to show you. First, we'll see our dinner rolls, and they're perfect and they're nice and fluffy. I'll see if I can open one up. It's still super hot, but yeah, they're super nice and fluffy and soft and delicious. But also, I changed my mind last minute and decided to make fry bread, which is over here. Fry bread is a traditional bread that we have in New Zealand. Usually we eat it with hangi. Hangi is, we used to cook our food in the ground way back when, a long time ago, and so now this is like our traditional kind of donut, I guess. We eat it with a lot of butter and a lot of golden syrup, and it's delicious. So that's what we're having for lunch, and I tried one and it's probably the best that I've ever had in my entire life. But yeah, these are our nice dinner rolls, and if you want to make them, the recipe is down below in the description. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.